What's up guys, CT Kidney here, and today we're going to be running through a tier list for Plunderstorm abilities. Now, I loved Plunderstorm last time it came around. I really hope you guys did too, and I know I'm going to enjoy it while it's here. I'm going to be spamming the heck out of it while it's around and I can play it. I really hope that Blizzard takes this and makes it its own thing, or uses the bare bones of this game to create a new game, because it is so fun to play. All right, without further ado, I'm going to get into the tier list. If you don't remember what the abilities do, I'll give a quick refresher, and then I'll place them. First up is Earthbreaker. Earthbreaker was a circle around you that did damage and stunned after a little bit of a delay. So the good things about it were that it moved with you. It was a big AoE. It's great for fighting multiple people. It does good damage, and it's an excellent farming ability. The problems with Earth Shatter were it has a big cooldown. So it's really easy to punish. It's super telegraphed and almost always requires a setup ability to go with it. It is a pretty slow casting time, and you are also slowed while using it. So honestly, all that being said, I'm going to put it in good. I think it's definitely usable on its own, but just not great unless you have another setup ability to go with it. Next up, we're going to have Explosive Caltrops. Explosive Caltrops is not a good ability. I'm going to go ahead and put it in swap off. It doesn't do a lot of damage, and there are just much better defensive abilities in the game. So I'm going to go ahead and say, just try to swap off it when you can. It only slows, it doesn't root, it does low damage. It's one of the worst disengage options in the game. It's got a pretty small AoE, so they can just walk around it, and it's not very good at farming either. Next up is going to be Fade to Shadow. Fade to Shadow, I'm going to go ahead and put an auto swap. This is an amazing ability. It's the only stealth in the game. It's good at disengaging or engaging with enemies. It buys time for your other spells to come back up, and it slots into any build. It's just so good. I think honestly it's an auto swap. It's one of the best utilities in the game. And speaking of best utilities in the game, Fey Form is up there as well. It gives you 90% damage reduction, it gives you CC immunity and a move speed boost, and it lasts for like 3 seconds. It's a ridiculously good chase tool. It slots into any build. The only problem is you can't attack during it. But realistically, that's a pretty small downside for the amount of upsides that it has. And next up is going to be Firewall. We're also going to put this in auto swap because this ability was so broken that they had to nerf it. They nerfed Firewall in Plunderstorm before they nerfed the broken classes in retail. That's how good this ability was. It does insane damage. It gives you a big move speed buff. It's a really good farming ability, and it doesn't require any aiming to do damage. The only problems is it's got a pretty long cooldown that can be punished, and it can also be punished with interrupts because it's a channeled ability. Next up, we have Holy Shield. I'm going to go ahead and put Holy Shield in good. It has 3 applications of damage. It's a boomerang, and then you can activate it again to have an explosion around it that does damage as well. It only does damage, so that's why I'm going to go ahead and say it's not great. It's a pretty slow projectile speed, but it is pretty easy to hit as well, especially with the explosion. Oftentimes, you're not going to get all 3 applications of the damage, but it's still pretty good. And then we have Hunter's Chains. I'm going to go ahead and put Hunter's Chains in playable. It's definitely niche. It's a really good combination with Earthbreaker or Snowdrift because people can't walk out of it. If you don't remember what this ability does, it's a targeted ability. You put it on someone, and if they try to walk out of the range, it's going to pull them to you. Or if you walk out of the range, it pulls them to you. Or no, it pulls you to them. Sorry, it's kind of confusing. But it doesn't do any damage. It doesn't do anything if you're fighting in melee range because it's just not going to do it. It's just not going to pull. And it requires a target, so you can't really use it to get around the map faster. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in playable. Again, it's a really good combo with Earth Shatter and Snowdrift, but that's pretty much where it ends as an ability. Next up is Lightning Bulwark, and this thing is also playable. It blocks only 1 attack. It has okay disengage because it gives you a move speed boost and knocks them back a little bit. It has okay CC removal. It does block a CC, so you know it's okay there if you can see when the enemy's going to use that. The only problems with it is that it can be played around very easily because it's super telegraphed, and you are slowed while you are countering with it. Next up is Manosphere. I'm going to go ahead and put Manosphere in very good because it's a very wide range ability It is charged, so you can make it even wider and up the damage. The knockback on it can cancel spells, like channeled spells like Snowdrift or Fire Whirl. It's really good at farming because it has a really wide hitbox. It does a lot of damage, but the only problem is the projectile speed is a little slow. So it's it'd be really, really good with swap. You know, I'm going to put it in good. I'm going to put it at the top of good. Because I think with setup abilities, it's very good. But with no setup abilities, it's not very good. It's just good. I think I'm never mad to pick up a Manosphere. Next up is Quaking Leap. I want to put Quaking Leap in very good. It's a 2-part ability. You jump with the first part, and then you can slam down and stun people with the second part. It doesn't require a target, so you can use it to get around the map really fast. It's got a super low cooldown. It is amazing for grouping mobs when you're trying to farm. And it's a good long-range disengage or engage option. The only problems with it is it's hard to use in melee range due to the double activation of it. And it can be difficult to use up ramps or hills or just using it on a slope. So those are the only problems with it. It's an excellent combo starter. Excellent combo starter because you can dash and stun with the same ability. It's really good. Next up we have Repel, and I'm going to put Repel in very good. The only problem with Repel is that it's got a really long cooldown, so it's easily punishable. It's the best pure defensive ability in the game because it's going to silence and it's going to knock people back, which buys time for your other spells. It also blocks CC. So it's just a much better version of Lightning Shield. And it's going to work the same. It's a counter. So you put it on right before you think you're going to get hit, and then it knocks them back and silences them. Next up, we have Rhyme Arrow. Rhyme Arrow is a targeted ability that does a little bit of damage, and it's ranged. And that's it. It just is a little bit of damage. It's ranged. It's okay for stopping people's healing, but that's pretty much where its usefulness ends. I'm going to go ahead and put it on swap off because it's not amazing. I would pretty much rather have any other damage ability than this one. Yeah, just not very great. And also it's single target, so it's not good for farming at all. So we have Searing Axe. Searing Axe is a huge frontal ability that is really hard to miss. It does a lot of damage, especially at higher levels. It's got a pretty low cooldown, a low cast time, so it's hard to punish. Knockback on it can cancel spells, and it's really good for farming. The only problem is you are slowed while you're casting it. And better players will be able to react to it and block it with a Lightning Shield or a Repel. So be wary of that. Other than that, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and put it in very good. I think it's fantastic. I think it's one of the best abilities in the game. And I would absolutely be looking to pick it up if you're running a melee build. And next up is going to be Slicing Wind. Slicing Wind provides insane mobility. It's a charged ability, and for each notch that you go farther in the charge, you're going to go farther with this ability in the distance. So it's really good with that. It's also a low cooldown, and it does good damage, surprisingly. If you can aim this thing and do good damage, it's going to damage and dash at the same time. The only problem is it's a charged ability, so if you're charging it up, it can make it really telegraphed. It's difficult to use on ramps or hills, much like Quaking Leap. And it can be hard to measure the exact distance that you're going to go because there's no reticle or landing icon that shows where you're going to land when you use it. So just be wary of that. Otherwise, I'm going to put it... Next up, we have Snowdrift. Snowdrift is difficult to miss. It's an AoE around you. It has 3 hits. And each one is going to stack a slow on top of it. So it'll slow by like 30, 60, 90%. If you can hit all 3 applications. Now, being a channeled ability does mean it can be interrupted, so that is a downside. It also only slows, so if you start channeling it, people can dash or blink out. It does good damage, and it's a fantastic setup ability for other abilities like Searing Axe, or for Toxic Smackerel that we'll get into later. Or just Fire Whirl, because if you can slow them and then have Fire Whirl, they can't get out. It's an amazing combo. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in probably near the top of good, maybe very good. Next up we have Star Bomb. Star Bomb is an absolute nuke. It does a lot of damage, but it is casted. Once you place it, you can't move it. It's also very, very difficult to land without setup, almost impossible, I would say. So you almost always need another ability to set up with this. It's really good for farming, and like I said, it's got really high damage. That being said, you basically need another ability to go with this. Like, you need a Quaking Leap, and even then it's not that great. You need a Snowdrift, and even then it's not that great. You need to be able to land a Steel Trap, and even then it's not that great. You have to be able to pair it with another ability, and for that I think it's not good, because it takes up your other offensive ability slot just to make it good. I think it's an auto swap off, honestly. Unfortunately, I think it's cool. It's a meme, but, you know, it's not that great. Steel Traps. Steel Traps are a little trap that you place down, and they're basically just better Caltrops. It's just better Caltrops. I think it's playable. I don't think it's that great. It's good for choke points because it's got a bigger radius. And if you can get off this ability and actually land it on somebody, they're going to be rooted for a long time. So it's good for disengage. The trap lasts a while, so people need to be wary of that space for a long time. And if you can land it, again, it's a really good setup ability. But other than that, I'm going to say it's not that great. I play it sometimes, like if I can't get anything else, but, you know, it's okay. Next up is going to be Storm Archon. It's a 3-hit ability. You're going to activate it. It's going to shoot a lightning, an earth, and a fire projectile. It's a pretty fast projectile, but it's pretty skinny, so it's kind of hard to hit. It's really good for farming because it's 3 hits. But it's kind of difficult to land on enemies. It's a pretty long CD. I'm going to put it maybe at the bottom of good. I remember it being not okay. I was never super excited to pick this one up. It's good consistent damage, but it doesn't do a lot of burst damage. Next up is my favorite ability in the game, personally, Toxic Smackerel. This thing does a lot of damage if you can land subsequent hits. It's going to poison them, put a dot on them. And this dot alone is just good because it's going to make sure that they can't run away and heal because they'll get interrupted by the dot. It also does more damage if you have a target already poisoned by it, and the dot stacks as well. So if you can get subsequent hits, then it's going to be really, really good. It's going to do a lot of damage. The only problem is, like I said, it needs subsequent hits to be amazing. So I'm going to put it at the bottom of very good. Maybe right next to Searing Axe, maybe a little bit of ahead of Searing Axe, it depends. It's got a super low cooldown, so it's spammable. I think this ability is really, really good. It's also an okay farming ability as well. It's not great, but it's good. And last but not least, we have Windstorm. Windstorm is a long-range projectile that you shoot, and it's going to stun people for a really long time. It's the longest stun in the game. It's a decent disengage tool if you can land it in melee. It's telegraphed, though, because it's pretty easy to see, and it's got a long cast time. Pretty easy to dodge if you don't have another setup ability, but it can also be a really good setup ability in and of itself. And it's got a pretty long cast time, not a super long cast time. I'm going to go ahead and put it in probably at the top of good. I think it's really good because it's a really good disengage tool. It's a really good tool for just stunning somebody and landing combos or extending combos. And I mean, with this, this is pretty much the abilities. Let me know how you guys like Plunderstorm when it comes out. If you want some Plunderstorm content, I would be more than happy to record some for you guys. I love this game, and like I said, I really personally hope that Blizzard builds on Plunderstorm and makes it its own thing. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'll see y'all next time. Hey guys, quick outro. So I just forgot to say I'm actually going to be streaming Plunderstorm over at twitch.tv/ctkidney. The link will be in the description. I also will have a schedule posted up there. I will be starting to stream a little bit more. If you guys are interested in that content, I'll still be making YouTube videos about it. But, please be sure to go support me over there. Like and subscribe to the video if you like the tier list. And I'll see y'all next time.